If you think the Lake Minnetonka lifestyle means owning lakeshore property, you're missing the one town that changed the math. Excelsior gives you public lake access most waterfront owners would envy. And today, I'm breaking down why no one leaves this place and who should probably keep looking. Some suburbs in the Minneapolis metro kind of follow the same setup. You've got the big box stores right off the highway, the quiet cul-de-sac tucked behind them, and you're driving back and forth for pretty much everything. But Excelsior feels different the second you pull in. This is a small community with just 2,300 residents, sitting right on the south shore of Lake Minnetonka, covering about 1 square mile. And you can walk from one side of town to the other on a slow afternoon and still have energy left to grab dinner after. And that small size is part of what makes it work, because Excelsior is kind of the unofficial downtown for the whole South Lake Minnetonka area. So the surrounding lake communities come here for dinner, events, shopping, docking, weekend errands, all of it. And even though the city itself is small, it carries the energy of a much bigger place. There's also some real history here, and that matters because Excelsior has those old lake town bones, and this wasn't a planned suburb that popped up in the 1980s. It was a real lake destination before most of the suburbs around here were even built. And you still feel that in the streets, the buildings, and the way the whole town points you back toward the water. The buyers who love Excelsior are not trying to find the biggest lot or the quietest neighborhood on the edge of town. They're looking for the lifestyle simply because they want walkability, lake access, community, and that feeling that you live in the destination instead of just living near it. That combo is hard to find anywhere in the Minneapolis suburbs. And when we get into the housing side later, the way this town is built around the water is a big reason the market here acts the way it does. Stick around. Now the trade-off here is worth saying early. If you want a huge private lot, a big new construction floor plan, or a quiet residential feel away from foot traffic and seasonal activity, Excelsior is gonna bug you a little bit. Because the density is part of the experience, and so is the energy. But families are also served by the Minnetonka School District, and that's one more reason buyers keep coming back to this pocket. That foundation is what sets everything else up. So the setting is the stage, but the day-to-day life is what makes people stay. And in Excelsior, that runs through one street. When an errand turns into another car trip, every meal means driving somewhere, and the only thing you can walk to from your front door is the mailbox. And Water Street is kind of the opposite of all of that. It takes a real Main Street feel and puts it into just a few walkable blocks. So you can grab coffee in the morning, do a quick grocery run, meet a friend for lunch, pop into a boutique store or two on the way back, and do all of it on the foot without thinking about where you parked. And most suburbs are built around the car, but Excelsior is built around the walk. And once buyers have lived that, they don't want to give it up. So a few spots are worth calling out here because they each show a different piece of what makes Water Street work. Hotel Excelsior sits right on Water Street. It's a boutique hotel with suite style rooms and full kitchens. And what makes it fun is the local connection, because people from around the lake and across the metro will book a night or a weekend there. From tourists coming from far away and locals as a staycation, you walk downstairs and you're already right in everything. Coffee, breakfast, shops, restaurants, Excelsior Commons, all of it right there. That only works because the downtown is worth staying in, and Excelsior's is. And when we get to who this town is for, this downtown energy is exactly the thing that pulls one buyer in and tells another buyer to keep looking. Stay with me. Now get this, Vagabondo is the newer hotspot in the area. This restaurant has a Sicilian concept in a historic downtown building, and it's great. My wife and I just recently ate there and loved it. The rigatoni and carbonara were our favorites. When a restaurant like this opens in a town this size and people are already talking about it, that tells you the downtown is alive. But it's not just some cute old Main Street that hasn't changed in 20 years. There's also Maynard's, which might be the best single example of why Excelsior feels like a destination. It's right on the lake. It's steps from downtown. It has a huge outdoor patio, lawn games, lake views, and people who live on other parts of Lake Minnetonka will boat over, dock there, have dinner, walk into downtown for the evening, and then boat back home. That's the loop here, lake to restaurant to Water Street and back. And that energy spills into the whole downtown. But the trade-off is that a compact downtown gets busy, especially on peak summer weekends and big event days. Water Street is full, and for buyers who love that kind of energy, it's part of the appeal. But for buyers who don't, that's helpful to know early. So if you're nodding along and Excelsior is on your radar, or you're trying to figure out if the Lake Minnetonka area fits your family, my team and I would love to help you sort through it. All of my contact info is in the description below. Reach out and let's talk. The downtown is the front door, but the lake is the whole reason this town exists. And the way Excelsior gives residents access to it is more interesting than most people expect. People tend to think that if you want the Lake Minnetonka lifestyle, you need to own lakeshore property. And in a lot of communities around the lake, that's kind of true, but Excelsior is built differently. Lake Minnetonka is over 14,000 acres with about 125 miles of shoreline, and it's the largest lake in the Twin Cities metro. But again, the size of the lake is not what makes Excelsior special. The real difference is the Commons. Excelsior Commons is this big lakefront park right outside Excelsior Bay. You've got beaches, open green space, a band shell, playgrounds, picnic areas, public docks, and access to boat rides. This is the kind of public space most lake towns would build their whole identity around. But Excelsior has had it for generations. Even if you don't have a private dock, you can walk down to the Commons on a summer evening and feel connected to the lake in a real way. And that's not some watered down version of lake life, but a great version of it. The Port of Excelsior adds another layer because there's public pay-to-dock access, which means people can come into downtown Excelsior by boat. That's the whole reason the Maynard's example works so well. The town is reachable by water in a way most suburbs just aren't. Then you've got the Lake Minnetonka Regional Trail running right through town, and it gets plowed locally in the winter, so people are walking, running, and biking on it year-round. Even in January, when the lake is completely frozen, there is still a reason to get outside. That four-season setup is a big part of why the events here feel different from other lake towns too. So keep that in mind when we get to who Excelsior is a fit for near the end. Now with boat slips and marina space, it does exist, but you need to plan for it. There are wait lists for the most convenient spaces, so if having your boat close by is the priority, you want to factor that in early. Private lakeshore is expensive everywhere in this market, but Excelsior gives residents real lake access through its public spaces in a way that's hard to beat really anywhere else in the metro. And that public lake access is a big reason for the community calendar here that turns this from a summer lake town into a year-round lifestyle. If you find Excelsior in the summer and think it's just a seasonal lake town, and then you talk to someone who actually lives here, you realize the calendar barely slows down. And that's the moment where Excelsior goes from interesting to pretty hard to ignore. When there's always something happening on your main street, you stop thinking about leaving. And Excelsior has built that rhythm across all 4 seasons. In summer, it's kind of the crown here. Art on the Lake brings in artists from all across the region for a free lakeside event with live music and food right by the water. And Apple Days has been running since 1935. So you've got this full lakeside festival with art, food, live entertainment, history tours, and a street dance. And that kind of tradition becomes something families plan around years before it even happens. And the 4th of July is the signature event, with the town hosting public fireworks on Lake Minnetonka launched right over Excelsior Bay at the Commons. I went last year with family visiting from out of town, and it pulls people from all over, with the whole lake kind of turning toward Excelsior that night. There's just something special about being in that park while the fireworks go off over the water that makes you understand why the people who live here are not trying to leave. And even on a normal Wednesday in the summer, concerts in the Commons is happening right at the lakefront park. So you've got live music, food trucks, beer and wine, sunset over the bay, and a regular weeknight can feel like a mini vacation. Again, there are also a couple of local spots that are just part of the fabric here, such as Adele's Frozen Custard, which has been around since 1986, and Tommy's Tonka Trolley right outside the Commons. These are the kind of places the internet never fully captures, so you just know them once you spend time here, and they're part of what makes Excelsior feel like a real community, not just a zip code. Later, when we break down who this town is not for, the calendar and the crowds are a big part of that conversation, and that helps buyers make a real decision. Stay with me here. Now, the honest flag here is Highway 7, because that's the main route in and out of Excelsior, running east and west. It can get packed, especially coming off 494 toward Excelsior on a busy Saturday or a big event weekend. And people who live here know that can be annoying for sure. The traffic is part of the proof that people want to be here. But again, that does not make sitting in it any more fun. So it's worth knowing before you fall in love with the place. And the calendar doesn't just stop in September. Events keep going through fall and winter too. So this is not a town that goes quiet the second the boats come out of the water. And that social rhythm is a big part of why the Excelsior housing market is pricey. That's where we're headed next. Excelsior is a premier Lake Minnetonka market, and the prices reflect that. You're paying for the Lake Village feel, the walkable downtown, the community calendar, the Minnetonka schools, the trail, the commons, all of that together. And that combination is rare enough that demand tends to stay steady no matter what the broader market is doing. The housing here is mixed. You've got townhomes, single-family homes, smaller multi-unit buildings, and real multi-family piece too. And that's part of what gives Excelsior that denser, more walkable feel. Also, there are entry points, but again, you're still shopping in a premium market at every level. For single family homes right now, inventory is really tight with most of what's out there priced in the high million plus. But there are a few options in the high 600s and there are several well above it. So this is not the kind of market where you come in expecting a huge selection at every price point. And when you look at where prices have gone, the median sales price moved from the upper 600s in 2021 into the 700s in 2022, then climbed through the 800s in 2023 and 2024, and it landed near the high 800s in 2025. The 2026 picture is still taking shape. And if you want the most current read, reach out to me directly instead of locking onto one data point. The gap between off-water and on-water pricing is big, and that makes sense because on-water homes not only give you direct lake access, they also give you that walkable downtown proximity, and that is a tough combo to find anywhere else in the metro. So if your priority is maximum square footage, a big private lot, or getting the most house for your dollar, your budget is probably going to stretch further in other parts of the Southwest Metro or out along the I-94 corridor. But if the lifestyle is the point, Excelsior is one of those places where the trade-off can make sense. Move-up buyers who are ready to trade suburban sprawl for a Lake Village routine they'll use every week, this is the kind of market that was built for that. Now, the same things that make Excelsior so sticky for the right buyers are the exact things that can make it wrong fit for someone else. So let's be straight about who this town probably is not for. If you want real elbow room, like distance between you and your neighbors, a big private yard, and that quiet edge of town feel, Excelsior is going to feel tight. The same village density that gives you the walkable energy and the community feel also means you're not getting the kind of space some buyers want, and that probably won't bother you less after you move in. If you're working with a starter home budget, this is also not the market right now because pricing is steady, inventory is limited, and when the right homes do come up, there's real competition. So other communities in the Southwest Metro are going to give you a better entry point while still keeping you close to Excelsior. And if you need quiet, not seasonal activity, not a packed calendar, not Highway 7 getting backed up on a summer Saturday, Excelsior may feel like a lot. But this town is built to be alive and active. And again, that's either part of the appeal or part of the problem, depending on what you want your day-to-day life to feel like. For buyers in any of those groups, the I-94 West and other parts of the Southwest Metro are worth a serious look because you'll find more land, more privacy, and your budget is going to work harder for you. But if you've been watching this whole video and nodding along, if the walkable downtown, the lake access, the events, and the idea of living somewhere other people want to visit sounds like the life you're trying to build, then Excelsior deserves to be right at the top of your list. Quick personal note here, a good friend of mine's family lived in Credit River near Legends Gulf for years. They ended up moving to Mendota Heights for a few years and then just moved to Excelsior on the water last year. Told me all of the places he's lived, Excelsior is the favorite by far. Credit River for him was too far out there and away from things. Mendota was nice and being close to the airport was a plus, but didn't have the lake access or a super walkable downtown he wanted for his family. Excelsior checked all of the boxes, walkable downtown, close to everything, and premium lake access. Excelsior holds on to people because it's hard to replace, and once a place becomes the one everything else gets compared to, you don't keep looking for something better, but start figuring out how to get in. So if you're seriously looking at Excelsior and you want to know what's available right now and potentially off market as well, email me today and I'll put together a current snapshot for you, because inventory here moves fast and knowing the market ahead of time is the whole advantage. And if you love what Excelsior offers, but you're not sure the budget or day-to-day lifestyle is the right fit, I've linked a video where I break down 6 small towns near Minneapolis that people are moving to right now. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.